All right, so we are going to start from where we stopped. Yesterday, we are able to um, generate some other element like links, image, and we talked about how you can generate the link. When you want to link different pages together, we have the A tag, and the A tag has these very important attributes that you always use. Anytime you're using A tag, this attribute href we always follow, because that's what you're going to use to talk to the tag that this is where you want to take the user to. So anytime the user click on whatever the content that is inside this A tag, is going to take them to whatever you pass inside the href. And that yesterday we talked about two types of linking. We have external and we have internal or relative. But under the relative, I said we have same folder, we have child folder, and we have parent folder. But the only one we're able to treat that yesterday is the same folder under the internal, because all the file we are linking to, they are in the same place. So we have a folder which is this HTML, and inside the HTML we have all these files that we want to connect together. And since all of them they are under this HTML, we are going to use the same folder linking. But later on, all the files are not going to be together like this. When you are working, it's not always ideal to put everything together inside one folder. You have to separate it. Like as me, we have like 10 images now. Instead of jam packing with the HTML file, we put it in its own folder that contain all the images. So now do you now connect that images folder to your HTML file? So since they are not inside the same folder again, you have to use other method there. And when we get to that part, we are going to deal with it. But for today, we are going to be talking about form, which is another aspect of the content that you want to display to the user. For example, now like the GG that we just visited, and I want to search for something. I need to type it so that the site will know what I'm actually looking for. But what they are using here is part of what we call form control. So because we have different type of form control that you can use to gather information, we use this one to collect information from the user, because there is no way you know that the user is looking for Dell or they are looking for HP. So instead of looking for this laptop, I can just put laptop in general. So laptop in general, and it's going to bring everything. But out of this, I the laptop, we have this input where we need to type something, and once we type whatever we're looking for, it's going to bring it out there. And this is not the only type of form control you have. Look at the side here. As you can see, this stuff here, I can click this item and to bring out all those ones that are below this, or if I click on this one, you see that it leaves the first one and it goes to the third one. This is part of the form control that is going on. Or if you are talking about the price, you can quickly put the stuff here yourself like that. As you can see, this side, this is another control again. So this one here is another control. So if you click like this, it will allow you to pick, and at the same time, if you want, you can select other types on the page too. But we have name for each one of them like that. So what you are seeing here is a input of type search, because we are searching something. This one is input, but the name is here is radio, and we're going to see all of them in action. So this is radio. So for this one that looks like this box, we call it checkbox. It's the same element that is generating all this. The element that generated this one that you are seeing here is the one that generated this circle, is the one that generated this box, and is one too that generated this one that you are seeing above. All this type, the one beside it, that one is CSS stuff. But what is going to give you is something like this. All this icon will not be there. You'll be the one that will do all those things yourself through the CSS and other element, because you can use image for this one. Then you combine all of them together, you style it, it will not look like this. But this is the one is going to give you is a box where you can type. It's not less for you to style it anyhow you want. But we're going to see what can you use to generate all these elements that you are seeing on this page. Because any site that deal with interaction, like you need to communicate with the user, you are going to have form on that page. When you want to sign into any site or when you want to register, they need to get your information. And to get your information, you need to supply the those info. And as you can see here, we have the box for the email, We have the box for the password, and as you type, you can see it will not show like that. We have the one you're going to use for the first name, even though they've customized their stuff. But our own right now is that how can we bring out this box? We don't care about this styling. You can see that that thing is going up or coming down based on whether you are inside it or not. But we don't care. And again, too, you see that it turns to red when you don't type anything. You've already all this one requires CSS and JavaScript. So when you now combine the three of them together, that's where you have this functionality. But for now, we want to be able to generate the element that you can type inside it. But we don't care about whatever you type here is okay or is not okay. The only thing we are focusing right now is that you are typing something. You have the box where you can type, or you have the box you can click on, which is this checkbox here. So this is what we call checkbox, where you can check or uncheck the box. And how do you generate all these things? So we have the form element and we have the form controls. So the form controls is one that will generate all those items you are seeing on the screen. But most of the time, you put all these things together in a group. And what we normally use to group them is known as the form element. So let me create the page. So we are going to have a page for register like this .html, and under this page we generate the page content. So the title is going to be register page, and h1 I'm going to have this register page. And when you are dealing with form, so when you are dealing with form, we have a form elements. So it's not every time you use this one, but anytime you have multiple elements and you want to bundle them together, you put them under this form element. And inside the form element, what are you going to be using? You are going to be using form controls. So these are the controls. All those things you are seeing on the screen are what we call controls here. And this control here, it's come with different controls. So we have the input like that. So we have the input control. This is the most the one you always use a lot, that input, because it comes with different type of input. Apart from this input, we have the select control. Another control that is here that is different from all this one is known as text area. So this is a group that you always have, but majorly the one you'll be using is this input, because it has a lot of inputs that it can display for you based on the type of the controls that you are looking for on the page. So currently I think I have this sign up, so let me link to it from the index. So let me go back to the index since we have all our link here. So let me create another link from here. Now it's going to go to register. So that's our, and the text is going to be register page. So save, go back to the browser. On the sign up, we can go back home. So go to the I don't have home, so let me go to the about page. Then from the about page, I will go back to the home page, and from the home page now we have register. So if you click on it now, it will take us to the register page. But what do we want to do here? We want to be able to generate all these controls that we have here, and at the same time to work with the element there. We're not going to be doing too much with this element. What we'll just be using it for is to group all the controls together there like that. So that and again too, yeah, we can talk about the button, but that one is a separate stuff. Let me just put it at this side. So we have the button element like, but button can actually be used outside of form. So it's not just for form alone. It can be used outside of the form, but I will just leave it there. That's why I move it outside, so it's not related to any of the items that I have of them. So now let's start generating each one of them. So here I'm going to have the form element. So to generate form element is just by using this form tag. So this is form tag. But if you look at it, it's that different from it have the get, it have the post. But for now, we don't care about this one because we are not submitting any details. We are just bringing them out first. So when we want to use it, that's where all these stuff will come in. But for now, we don't care about it too. The only thing I just need is just this form. And as you can see, it's bringing out the action. Action means when you submit this your form, where are you taking all the data to? So whatever the address you provide for this action, that's where you submit your form to like that. But I don't care about it. If you leave it empty, it will be using the current page you are working on. That's how link work. Even that href too. If you don't put anything inside it, it will be using the current page as your link. like that. So which means if you leave this one to empty, it will be submitting the form to the page we are working on, which is the register.html. So that's why I will not be focusing on it, because we don't care about the submission. We only care about the controls that we want to generate, because we are dealing with the HTML. We are not submitting anything yet, like that. And yeah, there is something that I omit here, which is very important too, which is this label. So we have label too, because if you look at it now, if you look at this GG, you see that the form that is coming out, there is actually a text on top of each one of them that describe what you have to put inside that box. Now, this one is telling you that this is your last name. This one is telling you that this is your first name. So this thing at the top is what we call label. But this is not the way it will be coming out. It's because we've styled this stuff. That's why it looks like that. It will not come out like this. What you only see is something like the Facebook said is not using it. So they are not using label. What they are using is known as placeholder. So if you remove this thing, so that something comes outside. This one is placeholder. It's different from label. So we are going to see everything, and how you can generate all these elements that is in it. So for the form, this is what we call form element here. And inside the form element, this is where you generate the controls that you want to show to the user there, like that. For example, now this input. So input, once you just type input like this, you see it, or even before I save it, can you see? Input has a lot of controls under it. So it's the one that will give you the controls for color, it's the one that will give you the control for date, it's the one that will give you the control for email and so forth like that. So whether you want to collect their first name or last name or their email or their password, it's always input that you're using. But you need to tell it which type of input. So that's where you see that this attribute type. Based on the type you are supplying to it, it will generate the corresponding element for you like that. And if you don't supply type, by default, it is known as text, which is just going to give you this box. And inside this box, you can type anything that you want. It will accept number, it will accept anything you type. Once you're dealing with text, it will accept anything from you. But if you don't want them to type underscore or anything, you have to add some validation later on that, okay, anytime they now input what you are not expecting, you show the error to them, or you don't allow them to submit the form without error. But for now, input doesn't care about what you are imputing. And what is there by default is this type of text. This is what it's using by default. Even if you don't specify it, that's the type it's going to use. Whether you put it or you don't put it, this is what is always there by default. So if I save it, it's still going to be the same thing. You can type anything you want inside you can type anything you want inside the box. It doesn't care whether it is symbol or anything. But we have other type of inputs that you can actually talk to this thing to generate for you there like that. But before I get there, we can actually use something known as this placeholder here. And placeholder is whatever you want to display inside the box before the user starts typing. Just like what you are seeing here on the GG or Facebook. So like that, you can see it's showing this phone number, digits only, or on this Facebook here, you can see it said email address or phone number. So this is one way of passing information to the user. But the disadvantage of this one is that once the user start typing, you don't see it. If the user type, or if something is inside the box, you will not see placeholder. But if nothing is there, that's when you see the placeholder. So it only come outside when there is nothing inside the box. For example, here, if I clean this one, as you can see, it will show. But once you type one thing like this, it will disappear. Because it's just there like a placeholder. It's not the actual stuff, but it's just there to tell the user that this is what you are expecting inside this box. And if you want to display something like that, this is the attributes. Anytime you are dealing with self-closing type, you always talk to them through attribute. Most of them, you talk to them through attribute, but that's how they are going to know what to do. For this first attribute is the type, which is optional. If you don't supply it, it will give you text. But this one here is useful anytime you want to display information inside the box. So for example, enter your first name like this. First name, so save, and you see that that's what we're going to have inside the box. But this one will only show when the user is not typing anything. But once you just put one character like this, it will disappear. And that's the reason why I don't really use it. Like I used to use it, but I used to combine it with label, because label is a standalone. Label, you can think of label as like a placeholder too, but that one is not affecting what you are typing. It's always beside the input or wherever you place it, whether before or after the input. And it's an element on its own, this label here. And this label, as you can see too, it comes with this attribute. But this attribute for now, I'll skip it because we are not using it yet, but I'll come back into it. And here now, I can just say the first name. So beside it, this is what you are, the text you are going to see. So this one doesn't care whether you are typing or you are not, because it is outside. So but it's, this label now is describing whatever that is beside it. And as you can see, they are on a separate line, but on the screen they are on the same line. I talked about this yesterday, which means all your label inputs, they are inline. Even the other one I will be talking about, this select here, all of them are inline. So they will always be on one line because they take up the space of what is inside them. And by default, your input, it have this kind of a minimum width. That's why even though you did not put anything inside it, it's still wide. So but it have a minimum width. That's what is going on there behind the scene. But when we get to CSS, you're going to see what is going on there, how you can reduce it or increase it, so your own taste there like that. But for now, we don't care about the style. We really care about the element that we are generating out. So if you want them to be on a separate line, what you can do here temporarily is to use BR, but later on you see a better way of handling this thing when we are talking about grouping of elements are there. So save now, as you can see, it will move the input to next line because it is after the BR like that. So we have this our first input, and it is of this type text, and at the same time we give it this placeholder to give more information about what we are expecting from that box. So let me add 2BR here so that I can give us 2 extra lines. So after this one too, I'm going to have another label. So this label now is going to be last name. You know, we are just following what we did at the top there. So BR again. So after that, we are going to have our input. It's still going to be type text. Anytime you are collecting text, because their name is normal text. But you know, some people, they are kind of crazy. They can actually put space there. But we don't care about that. What you are typing. The only thing we care about now, generating the box. When you get to the time that you be telling them that whatever they are typing must match what you are expecting, we'll be dealing with all those ones. But for now, we only care about the stuff that we are putting inside the stuff. So here too, we can give it placeholder, which is going to be enter your last name like that. So say you see that we have the reason we have this space here is because of the double BR that I have here. If I don't put it, they will just join together on one line. But because of the double BR, it's going to create this space like that. Is it not too much? Let me add one. Yeah, I think it's okay like this for now. So now we want to have another type of input, but this input now we want to have something like this. As you can see, so I'm typing, it's not showing what you are typing, which is what you always use anytime you are dealing with password. You don't want people to see what you are typing for your password. It's bad. Every site when you are dealing with password, you can't see what the user is typing there, because that's the main reason why they are using that. So we want user to be able to type something that is only known to them, not any other person there. Like that. You can toggle the stuff, but for now, depending on the browser you have, it can give you this option, but you can actually create it yourself later on with the help of CSS and JavaScript. But for now, we don't care about this. The only thing we care about is the input itself. So in order for you to generate that type of input, so we just need to change the type and give it the correct responding type there. So here I'm going to have BR again. And after this, I will have the label, which is going to be password like this. So that's the text we want to show. But the inputs that I want to use here, BR again. So the inputs that I want to use now is not going to be of this type text again. So the type for password is password. When you want to use inputs for password, this is the type that you need to specify. So it will give you the box where you can type, but just that whenever you are typing, as you can see, it will not show. Can you see that this thing coming out? It's because of the browser I'm using, the Edge. Edge by default will give you this thing, but other browser will not give you this stuff. But Edge used to show it. but something you can implement yourself. Like you can see the Edge browser, when you want to see password, it will generate this thing for you. But some design, this is not the way it is. The icon they are using is not what you want to use. So you do your own and it's going to appear there. Because all this one you are seeing from this side, they actually use their own. And you see that the icon is different. So they do their own there like that. The same thing too on Facebook too. You can see and it will bring it up based on whether what they are doing behind the scene. This is just JavaScript. What JavaScript is doing is changing this type of the input you are using. Because anytime you use password, you cannot see it. So what anytime you click on this thing, it will check whether it is password that is there. It's password, it will change it to this text. That's the reason why you are now seeing it now. If you check the code, you see that that's what it's just doing. It's not doing any magical with password. You cannot see what you are typing. Before you can see what you are typing, this one must be text. So if you look at it now, like that, where is the type? Can you see the type? It is text, even though it is password. But now if you click on it, can you see what it did? It changed it back to password. So that's what it's just doing behind the scene. But anytime it is password, you cannot see it. Anytime it is text, you can see it. So based on that knowledge now, you now connect JavaScript to the button. That anytime someone click on you, go to that element and change the type to text if it is not text before. But if it is text, change it back to password. Because the thing is is the same thing you are clicking every time. But it's checking what is there before. If what is there is password, replace it with text. But if it is text, replace it with password. So that's just the magic stuff that is going on behind the scenes. So they are not doing any too much work there. So but it requires JavaScript knowledge there like that. And again, you see that the icon too is changing. They are switching the icon based on whether this thing is of type password or is of type text. That's just the thing. But behind the scene, this is just the input. So to get the input where the user cannot see what they are typing, it have to be this password. And if the one that they have to see what they are typing, it have to be text like that. Now we have our form. We need to be able to submit the form. So to submit the form, that's where button now comes in. So you can use button. I normally use button, or you can actually use input too. Input is like it can generate a lot of things for you. So if you want to generate button that can submit your form, you can use input type of submit. So you can use input like this, but instead of the type to the text, it's going to be submit. So now if you save it, it's still the same input, but look at it now. It's not generating another thing for you. But the text there is submit. What if I want to change it to register? Because I don't want the text to be submit. I want it to be registered because by default it's always going to be submit. But now if you want to change the stuff, you can give it this attribute value. So whatever you put inside the value, that's what you want to show inside the button. So instead of it to be that, because if you don't give it anything, this is what it will use by default. But now I want it to be registered. What's this? So anytime we generate the button, we want the text inside it to be registered. So which means this button now, once you click on it, it will submit your form. Look at this thing now. If you're looking at this, once I click on it, you see that it will. Can you see that it load? How does this stuff know that it's supposed to load? Is because everything is inside this form element. So since it's inside this form element, form knows about all the controls inside it. Once you submit, it's going to submit everything to this action. If and only if something that is missing here is there, or something is missing here like that, and that thing is known as name. Because each form you should be able to, like, you should give them name. Whatever name you give them, that's what you are going to use to submit it. But right now we don't care about submission. We only care about displaying the content on the screen. So you can use input, but I don't use this one. And the reason I don't use this one is that it doesn't allow you to customize whatever you are putting inside. This one now you cannot put any other element. Just like the way we are putting all this label whatever inside form, I should be able to design my button so that I can put anything I want inside it. So when you want to do something like that, instead of using this input like this, you can just use the button directly like this. Can you see now? This one have open and close. So whatever you want to do, just pass it inside this place. So which means this one now you can put element inside it, not just text alone. You can put anything. If you want, put text like this, or if you want, put other element inside it like this. So say you say that this one will interpret whatever you put inside it as normal HTML. But now if you do it with this one, If you now come here and say B like this and you put now, you see that we are doing the same thing, but now save. Can you see what is now coming out? See that it's not interpreting the HTML code because here it's just a normal text. Whatever you type here, that same way it will come outside. But I want to be able to pass HTML code inside it. So that's why you always see me using button a lot rather than using this one. This one too will work if it's just normal text you want to put inside it. But if you need to put some other element inside the stuff, you have to use button. And button too can be used outside of form. It's not just meant for form alone. You can use it anywhere on the page, but it has some stuff you can pass into it so that it do what you are expecting it to. But anytime you put button inside the form, it will submit it. You don't even need to tell it that it can submit the form. It will submit the form because that's what it's going to do by default anytime it is inside form. But when it is outside of form, it doesn't submit any form at all because there is no form there. So if you put it outside, it will not submit the form. But if it is inside form elements, it will submit the stuff like that. So this is input, but this is not all about input there because we have a lot of input controls that you can use there like that. So we have a lot of them, which I will just list them out. I will not be doing label or whatever stuff. I will just be listing them out like that. So we have form. So I'll put everything under form too, like this. And inside the form, we've talked about this one, the normal input, which is of type text, which is always going to give you text like this. Let me put space at this bottom part so we have enough space down because this one that everything is just jam packed together. So let me add more space. Now if you scroll down, we have enough space because it is breaking like how many times? That's 3. So if I want, I can even break it more. That's 6. So we have more extra space at the bottom side. So we have this input of type text. Another type of input that is really useful here is email. So when you want to collect user email there, that's why you see that yeah, so email. So once you save it, it's still the same input that is coming out, but the way the browser will interpret the second one is different from the first one. When you use of type text, this one means anything can be inside the box. But once you click on this one knows that okay, whatever you are doing here is going to be email box. And once you leave now and you come back there, can you see what is showing? It's saying please include ads because you mentioned it that what you want to receive from here is email. It's not enforcing it to. It's not enforcing it to. You be the one that will do all those one time. But this thing is still telling you. And again, too, if you already been filling form on your browser before, if you have any email that you're using before, anytime they are using input of email, it will pick all those your autofill and it will pick. That's why you see that when you go to some sites, sometimes the details you fill from one side, it just pick it up straightforward. It's because you use autosave there. And once you use autosave and you go to any other site, once you see whatever type of email here and it sees your email, it will just fill it in directly there. Or anytime you are typing, it will bring out all the email that you filled before on the site there like that. So yeah, you can just put the email, then add, then put whatever. It doesn't care whether this is a correct email or not. The only thing it's looking for is the pattern. So the only thing it's looking for is the pattern of the email, not that the email is actually correct. If I want, I can just put some nonsense stuff here. It doesn't care. As long as it's following the pattern, it will accept it. So this is the pattern it's looking for. It doesn't care whether is if you send email to this one, it will go or not. Nothing concerned about the input with that. But it give you the input where you can put your email like that. If you look at this one, you can see enter your email. Can you see now that it brought out all this? So it's because behind the scene they are using input type of email. That's what you can use text to it will work, but that's not good like that. As you can see, here where is it? You can see they are even using text, but they give it a name of email like that. So and again, it have ID. I'll talk about ID later on there and the name, but the name too is very important. But for now, we really care about the box where you want to impute the stuff. And this is the button. So, but they style their own button to look like this. That's just CSS stuff. When we get to that part. So another one you can have here, we talk about the password. So you can have input password like this. And the one that are common is, or the one that you always use, is what I will just bring outside like that. We have these dates too. If you want to collect dates, but I don't really use it because I used to use external library to undo that one, because the way the if you are using the default one that this thing is giving you, the way to display on different system will be different. So the way you display on window will be different from Mac, and you don't want your design to be changing like that. Even the browser says some browser, the way they display their this thing is different. So we have this input of datetime local here. If you want to collect data, but the one I want is just normal date. So this one will give you input that you can use to collect dates. Can you see? So once you click on it, it will bring out the date picker. It's still input, but the type is date. If you want to collect time too, it will bring it up, but I don't really use all this one. If it's just a simple stuff you are working on, you can use it, but the way it's going to display on different browser will be different. This one is displaying on the edge like this. So let me go to the I have Firefox here, because all the other browser that I have here, they are the same. All of them, they are just Chrome. Even this edge too is Chrome, so which means they are using the engine of Chrome. But Firefox is not using Chrome engine, so it has its own engine. So the way it's going to display will be different there. I don't think I have Firefox on this system. Firefox, I don't have it. So these are the only browser that I have here. So this one too is just the same thing as this. So if I open it up there and load the page, both of them, they are using the Chrome engine. And since they are using Chrome engine, they always want to display the stuff in the same way. So once this thing load on this browser now, so click on it like this. As you can see, it's giving us the same UI. And the reason why it's giving us the same UI is because all these browsers, they are Chrome. But the one that is not Chrome, which is Firefox or any other one, it will not display the picker like this. So we have a lot of them that can come out later on too. But the one I want to quickly explain here, the one I want to quickly explain here is the one that is actually crazy under it. So here we have something known as checkbox. Checkbox imputes control like this. So this checkbox, and then we have another one too, which is known as radio. You've seen them already. This is just that this is their name. So we're going to have the form again. So duplicate this one down, because both of them look alike, and their work is kind of closely related to each other, just that they are doing it in a different way. So for the checkbox, we have this input, and the type is going to be checkbox. And what is checkbox? So we normally use this checkbox anytime you have options that the user can pick from, and they can select multiple, they can select one or more from it. That's where checkbox comes in there. For example, here now, look at what Gigi is doing there on their side. So there's some option here that you can pick multiple. So you see that they are now using what we call checkbox. This is it here. So you can look for the one that is 8 gig RAM. If you like, you can look for the one that is 16 gig RAM. It's not that when you are looking for 8, you cannot look for 16. So this what is here is what we call checkbox. You have multiple options that you want to display to the user, but from that list there, the user can select any one they want, whether it is one or more than one option. So here, if I click on 8 like this, it will add 8 to the list. So where is it? Under here now. So under the RAM, we remove it again. So if I click on this 32, as you can see, it's going to add to the list, but this site is not doing it like the way I want it to do it. So let me just add it directly on my form, and you see it in action there like that. So imagine you want to create a site where they can pick the items that they want to purchase. Like maybe you are building a user interface for item 7, and you know that when you want to buy their food, there's some other varieties stuff like that, like maybe like Coke. You want to add cheese or but all those, they are not mutually exclusive. Not that if you pick one, you cannot pick the other one. If you like, you can buy Coke, you can buy Fanta. So you pick what you want to buy, and that's why you see it when you go to all these big restaurant, they have this their machine where they punch on, but some of them they use this web to display the stuff, and from the list you tell them what you want and they will click on the stuff, and those things, you can pick multiple stuff, not just one item. So here now we want to create this form where you can pick the items you want to buy. So here now I'm going to create a label, and this inside the label, that's where I'm going to put it, so that or let me just put beside the label instead of, or let me put it inside so that it will be side by side. So here for now you can put it side by side. So this one is going to be Fanta like this. So apart from this one, I'm going to have another one which is going to be Coke like this, or whatever stuff that you want to call it. And here this is going to be Chi Exotic or any other name. So Chi Exotic like this. So and so forth like that. So I only have 3 items. So can you see them now? It's going to bring out the box. This is what we call check box. So with check box, what you can do here is to pick multiple from the list. But this one right now, the way I did it, something is actually missing here. Because anytime you're doing checkbox, you should always connect them together. Anytime you're doing with checkbox, you should always connect them together. And what I mean connect together, we know that they are coming from the same family. Like all of them are just drinks. So you need to tell them that they are of the same drink, but the user can actually pick any one of them or more than one item. So they can pick one or none or more than one item. So if you like, you want Fanta, you want Coke, but we don't want Chi Exotic, or we don't want Coke, we want Fanta and we want the Chi Exotic there. This is checkbox. Checkbox lists out option for you. You can pick none, you can pick one, or you can pick more than one item from the list. That's where checkbox comes in. But there is one that you can only pick one from the list, which is what when you are dealing with all this exam online, all this multi-choice exam, once you pick A and you later change it to C, it will remove from A and it will go to C. That one is what we call this radio here, which is this one. So for checkbox input, this is the checkbox here. So this is checkbox, and for the radio, this is the radio up here. So this is radio. And the job of radio is that you cannot pick multiple items at the same time. There's no way you say you want verified user and you are still showing all of them. It depends on where you want to use it. But where you use radio is where you have multiple options, but only one can be picked at a time. You have multiple options, but the user can only select one. That's where you'll be using radio. But if you have multiple options and they can select any one of them or more than one, and again they can select more than one, then you are going to use checkbox. Checkbox is used when you want the user to be able to pick multiple options from the list that you have. But radio, you have multiple options, but only one can be picked at a time. That is radio. And radio is really useful when you are dealing with anything like a multi-choice question, or where they need to only pick one answer. You can't pick more than one from the list. So that's where the radio comes in. And how do you generate radio? It's still the same input that you are going to use to generate this one. But this one is more crazy, like this one is crazy here. So please look at it, because this one is crazy. There's something you need to pass to this one before it works. Without you passing it, it doesn't work the way you expect it to work. So we have input, but now it's going to be of type radio. And this one is kind of, let me even copy everything I have here instead of me duplicating my duplicating this, because the same thing I want to type. But now instead of it to be checkbox, it's going to be radio. So let me replace everything to radio. So as you can see, they're different. When you're dealing with checkbox, this is how it comes outside. When you're dealing with radio, this is how it comes outside. But the way radio is supposed to work is that from this list now, only one of them can be picked. So for checkbox, if you pick this one, or you don't like it again, you can uncheck it. When you're dealing with checkbox, when you click on it, if it's not checked, it's going to check it. But if it is checked before, if you click on it, it's going to uncheck. But when you are dealing with radio, it doesn't work like that. Radio doesn't work like that. When you are dealing with radio, it doesn't work like that. So which means if I click on it now, can you see? You cannot remove it. If you do it with checkbox, it's working. But if you do it with radio, it won't work, because this is not how radio work. The way radio works is that any one of them you pick, you must click the other one to remove it. When you are dealing with radio, whatever you click here, you have to click the other one that is connected to it to remove it. You can't just click on this one to remove. But if I click on this next one too, you see that it's not activating that one too. But what's supposed to happen here is that once you click on any one of them, the one you had before will remove. But it doesn't work like that by default until you tell, like, oh, you kind of connect them together. When you want your radio to work the way it's supposed to be, you have to connect them together. And how do you connect them together? So any radio you want to connect together, you have to give them these attributes. Any radio you want to connect together, you have to give it this attribute name. And the name have to match. So for this one now, I can call it this drink. So the name I'm giving to this one, that's what the second one must take, the third one, the fourth one, and so forth like that, depending on the number of radio that you have in your on your page. So look at it. Before each one, before they can know about each other, you have to give this attribute name. And whatever value you give to the first one, that's what is going to be the same value for the other one. So now they know about each other. Only one of them can be picked. So if you click on this first one, and you now later click on the third one, can you see? It will remove from that first one and go to the third. If you go back again, it will leave that one too. If you click this one, it will leave. Only one of them will be picked at a time. But before it works like this, you have to connect them together. So when you are using input of radio, there must be a name, and that name must match with the other one. If it's not match, for example, now if you use this one, maybe the second one now, you call it drink one. Now the three of them are not the same. The one that are the same is this first one and the last one. This one is not part of them. Even though they are together, it's not part of them. So if you click on the first one and you click on the last one, it will work. But now if you click on the second one, you see that it's not working, because the name, it doesn't know that they are the same thing. Before it will know that they are the same thing, the name you are passing here must be the same. When you are dealing with radio, you must always pass this name. If you don't pass it, it doesn't work with the other one that is there. So connect them together, give it the name, and once you click on any one of them, it will remove. You can't click on it to remove. You must click the other one to remove it. Like that. But for checkbox is the opposite there. This one you can check and you can uncheck. And if you like, you can pick the three of them. But this one too, you should always give them names. It's always good that you give your checkbox to name, even though it's not required when you are dealing with it on the page, but it's always good that you give them name. So this one too, I'm going to give it name, and this one is going to be drinks, like this. So which means any one of them that you pick, it will be saved under this name when you submit your form. So when you submit the form, whatever you pick will be saved under it there. So how do we save the form? Let me put the button at the end so that you see that it's actually saving the stuff. So this one is going to be saved like that as the text. Now, so let me pick this one, pick this one. Those are the one I want for the drink. But for that one, I only want the stuff. But the way it's going to come outside is not going to show the text. So look at it, look at the URL now. See that there is nothing at this end here. But now let me click on that, save. Can you see that now? It has added a drink. But it's saying on. What is on? You see that one when we are submitting form later on. But for now, we are not submitting. You see that it picks everything, it picks something there and it submits the stuff out like that. But this one I can move them together and it's going to work too if I submit this one. For example, here now, if I move this save too, so duplicate this in, let's take it into this form too. So this form here of this one. So let me open this again. So look at this. Let me pick this first one, pick the second one, then save. As you can see, it said drinks on, digs on. But why is it using on? The reason it's using on is because we did not talk about the text we want to save. But that one, you are going to see it later on when we are dealing with the form there. So when you want to generate this kind of this is what we use, checkbox. This is a radio. Because these two are the one that is quite different from the other one. Radio is, most of the time this radio, you must always supply them. You must connect them together through the name. If you don't connect them together, it doesn't work the way you expect it to work there like that. So when you're dealing with radio, you have the input type radio, but you must supply name. And this name needs to match other radio that you want to use. Where are you going to use all this in? when we get to the proper design later on, you see that they will be coming out there. But when we are using them, you should know the reason why we are putting name or we are not putting name, or we are specifying the type of the stuff that you want to use there like that. But this one here, this one here, instead of you doing it like this, we can do it in another compact way. And that compact way is what we call select. For example, here now, let me go to this site. I think it's this remita.net. They are using it here. So when you have a list of options that you want to show to the user, but you don't want to show everything at once, you want to show it in a box, that's where select comes in. So we are moving into another type of control now. I'm done with the input for now. So another type of control I'm moving to is this select. And select works like this your checkbox or this your radio, just that it comes like a compact form. So instead of you listing out everything like this, you don't want to list it out. You want to show a box, and that box, when they now click, that's when it will bring out all the options for them. That's why I want to show you the sample on this site, which is this Remeta site. Okay, yeah, it's loading. Let me go to this pay bill. What's wrong with you? Remeta. So as you can see on the side now, you see that they are using what we just talked about. They are using the input, but they style it to look like this. But they are using input. The button that I talked about, or the A tag, is what is in. So like that. And if you scroll down, the image we've talked about, okay, this is like the heading text, this paragraph text, and this is the image. So everything you are seeing on this side is what we've talked about. The only thing that we've not talked about there is the style of the stuff, which is what we're going to do. But everything they're using here is what with all the elements they are using. So all they say they are just linked. So but they style it to look like what, but it's a link. So and they now make it to look like this. This is the image. But now what I want to do here is to pay a biller. Where is it? Pay biller. Where are you? What's wrong with this their site? That is just moving like so. Buy electricity, pay water, pay taxes. Where is this their stuff? They've removed it to bill and purchases. Let me see this one. That is not what I want. But that one will take me to a separate page. Okay, let me see this one. If it's going to show what I'm looking for. Oh, this input, but this is not what I'm looking for. I can see this is by now you know that this is label. So what they are using here is label. This is your input. This is the placeholder that is going on, and this is the button. But this is not what I'm looking for. The one they are showing here now. Coming, let me pause the video. Oh, sorry. Oh, the recording has skipped all this in. All right. So where did I stop? I think I stopped with this select. Yeah. So for this select here, when you want to use it, you are going to have this select there, and inside the select, you are going to generate the option. For example, here now, let me generate another one. So I have the label. We want to get your gender. So the gender, then there now you are going to generate the select. So inside the select, we don't need all this one for now. When their time comes, I will bring them out. So inside the select, then you generate all the options. You know the gender now that you want to collect. So here we are going to have the male, then complete it now. We are going to have the female, and we are going to have the order. So these are the only things we want to show. You cannot impute anything. When you are dealing with select, you already know where they are going to pick from, but you don't know which one. You know the list of the options, but you don't know which one. So there now you give them the option. There's that less for them to click on the stuff and pick the one. Okay, my gender is female, or my gender is male, or I don't want to say my gender is order like this. But instead of you using this select like this, you can actually use this radio too to do this. But if you check some site, this is how they do it. Why some? This is how it's being done. Like that. For example, when you are registering on Google now, when they ask for your gender, this is what you see. But some sites, this is what is going to show. I think let me go to Facebook. for their registration. Let me see. Yeah, create an account. Uh, you can see what they're using. Is radio, even though they style it, but it's just radio. So if I click on it now, if I go to the second one, as you can see it's removed from the first one and it select the second one. If I click on this custom now, it now lets for you to pick, which means they are trying to, accommodate all these silly stuff like that. But before, what was here is order. There's nothing like this custom before, but because of these stupid people that so and now you have this thing. So how do you do something like this too with your radio? You can do it. So what you can just do here is so we can have the label or no. So we have the label for gender here. So gender, and under this gender here, I'm going to have my label again or any other thing that you want to use for it. So inside this label right now, I'm going to have my input, but the input is not going to be this. It's going to be radio. It's that circle one. So now say it. You see that on the page we actually have it. So gender, but I do not put anything inside it. So I want, and again, in order for this thing to be arranged properly, let's put them on a separate line. So this one too, like this. I'm going to put it on another line so that it's show correctly. Yeah. So you can see if you pick this one, that's for the F or female. If you want it like that. So let me duplicate it for the other one. So this is male and this is other. So this one is going to be male, or let me start with male. The second one should be female. The first one should be male, and the last one should be other. But I told you when you are working with radio, it doesn't work like that by default. So if you click on this one now, and you click on this one, as you can see, it's not working. Why is it not working? Because there is something missing here, which is name. So whatever name you give to the first one, you have to give it to the second one and to the third one and so forth like that, depending on the number of radio you have. So the name. So here now we just call it gender like that. Or if you want, you can call it sex, depending on what you are using to represent the stuff. So any one of them will work. The text, the only thing this thing is okay for, the text must match. It doesn't care whether you are using X or Y or Z or gender or anything. But the text there must be the same thing for all of them that you want to connect together. And once you click on it now and you go to the order, as you can see, it will start working the way it's supposed to work. Only one of them, which is the same thing as what this one is doing. So the big female now is no more male again. And if you go back again and click on me, it's no more female. So this thing here is doing like what you have there. The advantage of this one is that you can have a long list. It's not going to show all of them at once. It's when you click that the thing will now pop back. But with this one, you can't use this one for country because there's a lot of country and you don't want to list everything out to the user. You only want to show it when they click on the box, not that the thing will not list everything out. So this radio is really useful for small items, while this one is useful for a bigger or small item, depending on which one. You can use any one of them, but the convention here is that to use this one for small list and to use this one for big item, but you can still use any one of them anytime you need it. So nobody is stopping you, just that you have a lot of information to display when you're using this one for country. Now imagine 200 lists are there. A country, like you have a list and you have maybe like 500 like that. You now want to list everything out. Nah, it's not ideal. Or you have a list of products and the thing is really long. You can't be listing everything out. And lastly, the one we talked about is this text area, which I mentioned that is really useful anytime you need to collect information that needs to span multiple lines. Because your input by default, whatever you are typing there, is just one line. So if I paste some content here now, this thing is really long. But if you look at it, it's just put everything on one line. You cannot move your content to multiple lines when you are dealing with input. So if you have any content that needs to span multiple lines or is really long, then you are going to use text area. And to generate text area is just by calling this tag here. As you can see, once you type text area, VS Code will generate it for you and it's going to appear on the screen. But you can actually change the size of it. It's not like the input. So you can change the size and whatever you paste inside it, they are going to wrap to the next line. Again, you can press enter to move to the next line and you continue with the other thing you want to type yeah, like that. So this one is useful when you are collecting information that is really long and can span. Again, too, if you exceeded the spacing, as you can see, it will always give you more handles here, so which you can now scroll up or scroll down to see all your content, or you can even expand it, but it's not always possible that you will be able to expand it like this, because when you most of the time you don't want the user to change the design. Once you say the thing should stop here, it should always stop here. So you remove this thing later on when we are dealing with CSS. But from CSS, you can actually remove it, and you don't want to see this stuff. For example, here now I can quickly remove it by passing one CSS here. So resize. So if you resize it, it will not work again. Now that once I remove it now, you see that I will not be able to change it again. As you can see, whatever the size that is there is what is always going to be. So is that less for me to start changing? Maybe I want the width now. You know what all these things are doing when we get to CSS. The height should now be maybe 200 pixels like this. So if I save it now, I'm now controlling how it's going to be. So this, the way that I set it now from CSS, that's the same way it's always going to be. You can't change it. But if I remove this one now, the user can still change. But you don't want the user to be changing the stuff anyhow. So whatever box you give them, that's the only thing they're going to have. And you can't do something like this with input. If you do it, your text is still always going to be on one line, so it's useless. So you don't just increase the input anyhow, because whatever you're typing there is just one line items there like that. And I think this is just the basic stuff you need under the form. This is not all of them, but this is the basic one you need. And when you get to the time we'll be using them, any other one that we'll not talk about now, we'll come later on, because you can't just sit down on one particular topic and no. This week now, and the first class next week, we finish all our normal HTML, like in the basic stuff. That's not all about HTML, but the one you actually need to start doing something, we finish everything and next class. Then the one that follows, like Wednesday and Thursday, now we are starting with CSS straightforward. So there now, that's where you now see some other thing will start coming in from HTML too. So, but it's on that, we're focusing more on CSS at that time then, because we still have a lot of things to treat, but these are the basic. When you want to, you can see all the sites. When you are displaying information to the user, the major thing you always have the text, the media, the form, or the table. We'll talk about table in the next class then. But majorly, table itself is not common. Table is only common when you are dealing with dashboard. That's where you'll be seeing table here. But when you're dealing with information to display to the user, what you only see is the media, the text, the links, and the form. Those are the major things. You see, if you check this side now, you will never see anything like table. What you only see is just the text, which you can see now. Here now, you know the tag they are using to generate one. This one is going to be between your H here. So it can be H2, it can be H1, because I don't know which one they are going to use, but I know that what they are going to use there must start with H. It has to come from that heading text like that, which is something we've talked about already. Even this one here too, is still heading, but the one they are using is depending on the level that the developer want to use. If you like, you can use H3 here. If you like, you can use H2 or this thing. As you can see that it is heading this thing. That, and if you inspect this one too, you see that this one too is going to be a path, but I can see here that they did not use it, so they just style it with something. And but look at it now. See what they are using for this one. That thing at the top. They are using list. But look at the way it's being started. Can you see that it's now on one line? As I said, with CSS later on, you can customize your list. So not right now, this thing is just listening at it, using that bullet or 1, 2, 3. But once you have the CSS there, you can do anyhow you want on your page. Look at this one too. I was expecting it to be H something, but they are using another element that we'll be talking about in the next class, which is this div. So when you're talking about grouping, that's where we'll be talking about this, because later on the page, some of your elements, you need to group them together. For example, like this one now, that is here. You see that this thing is in the form of group. This is one group. This is another group. Again, this is another group on its own. Yeah. So you're putting something together in a group. So how do you group them together? Look at this one too here. Is a group. So if you look at everything here, you see that they are in their own container or in their own group. So everything here too, you see that they are in their own group. Everything you are seeing here, it's in its own group. Everything you are seeing at the top here too, you see that it is in its own group. And this is how you do things later on. Because when you want to use them, you combine them together. You know, here now we are talking about them separately. But when you want to use all these things, you combine them together based on the design that you have. Because all these things that you are seeing here now, there's a lot of elements that combine together to just form this simple stuff. So if you look at it, this stuff is something that is clickable, which means it's something that you click on is going to take you to another page. You see that this thing is, it can be a link or it can be a button that will trigger JavaScript action there like that. So that's how it works. You don't just be using them separate, you'll be combining them together to form, because there is no element to create something like this. You have to combine different elements you know about to now do something like this. So if you look at it, there is image here, there is text, and there is a group there. So what do? You put all these elements together to now form this single box. Not that there is an element that you just call that will give you this shape. No, you are the one that will combine them together to form what you are having here through the CSS and the element. Because if you check it now, the text is there, image is there, and again too, they are now grouped together. So if you look at it, this is the group. This div now, I will talk more about it in the next class. Can you see that the image is here? And apart from the image, you are going to have the content that you want to display inside the stuff there. So as you can see here, so go down, can you see that the P is there too? So they combine everything together to now form that this entire box that you are seeing here. So everything you are seeing here, they are combined together through different elements. And that's what you always do. And you see that most of the elements we've talked about is what is there, like the P, we've talked about the image. The only thing we've not talked about is this div here, which is going to come in the next class there, like that. Because when we're talking about grouping, that's where I will bring that one out. Everything on the page is always about grouping. So this is one group, this is another group. So even the item here, as you can see, this is a group on its own. But the group you have here is what you have here. The difference between them is the content that is there. And if you look at this thing, see that I tell you there is a link. So if you inspect it now, you see that is the A tag that is going on. Anytime you go to any page and you are seeing the stuff that is showing the link, also that is the A tag that they are using at that place. You can't use any other thing for that place once you do the stuff. So it's going to give you the A tag. Where are you? Open up that. They are using the framework they are using here. So that means because they are using it, the entire stuff. This is what I'm looking for. Because you always use A tag. Anytime you see something that is showing the link down, the A tag must be there. And can you see the href? Can you see what they are using? They are using relative. They did not specify like HTTP, whatever. But it's still all about, if you click on it, you see this site that is going to show. Not that it's going to another place, but they are using some complex, they are using framework here. They did not just use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript directly from scratch. They are using framework. And which framework are they using? It will only show. You can see all this information on the site. It will tell you whatever framework they are using based on the way the thing, and I can see it from here already. So this SSR now, this is what we call server-side rendering, which is part of our framework stuff that you don't know yet, but you are going to see all this. So which means this site is using server-side rendering framework, and I think they are using Vue.js. So let me go down under the GG. Yeah, can you see? This is the framework they are using, Nox. And this Nox here is coming from Vue.js. So the framework they are using is coming under this Vue.js. So they are not building this stuff from scratch. They are using a framework. But before you can start using framework, you need to understand your normal JavaScript. Even if you go to any of the framework, they will tell you that you need to know the basics first before you start coming here. Because what we'll be doing here is like abstract on top of the stuff like that. So this is the framework they are using, but they are using a soft framework for this one too. They did not use this Vue directly. They are using Nox, which is known as Meta framework. So you can use this one to develop your application. So if you go under their get started like this, they will tell you where is it? Is it Nox 2? Yeah, it's composition API. Where is it? Where is the installation part? Got it. Get started. They always mention it. They will tell you before you start. Can you see? Familiar with your what? Command line. Install Node.js, whatever stuff. But all this one said, we need to know about JavaScript before what kind is having JS, which is related to JavaScript. So you need to know all these things first before you start saying you want to dive into it. Because nobody will be telling you what is HTML, what is p tag doing, Nothing concern them about that one. They won't tell you what A is doing. Their own is how can you generate element that will give you normal stuff like that will simplify process for you. Not that someone will be telling you whatever you be seeing here now is all about JavaScript and some sprinkle of HTML code. That's what you be seeing down there. So you can see now that they are using all this HTML that we talked about. But look at what they are now doing. All this calibration. What is all these dots? What is this lens? What is this one? What is this question mark? Those are JavaScript. And nobody will be explaining what this thing is doing. But once you know about JavaScript, you already know what is going on here. So that's the reason why we need all these basic ones before you jump into a framework. And the framework they are using is depending on this one, depending on this Vue.js. So the one they are using is Nox, but it's depending on this stuff here. As you can see, Nox, this is the framework they are using. So Nox is a free and open source. Can you see JavaScript what library? You can't use it without JavaScript. So all these things they are frameworks developed on top of, and as you can see, he mentioned it already here too. Can you see Nox, the Vue framework? So it's depending on this Vue too. That Nox is a framework for Vue. Vue is doing some stuff, but Nox now see that there's some stuff too that can be developed on that one. Those two they develop the stuff. So that's how it always be. You don't do this thing from scratch. You use framework to develop your application. This is because you want to simplify the process of you connecting JavaScript to all your elements on the page. And Vue is good. And this one, these people too, they are using framework. Even this Remita, but the framework they are using at their own is Angular. And how do I know that they are using Angular? Is because of the way their stuff is rendered here. Yeah. So I know that they are using. Can you see NGOs? Anything NG here is just Angular. So this is Angular they are using. Can you see they are saying NG version? So the Angular version they are using is 11.2.7. Anywhere you see NG, NG means Angular. And if you look at it there, you see, let me scroll down. So it should be inside here. So anytime I see their code, I already know the framework they are using there like that. That's how it works. So, but you can't just jump into framework without you know, but you still be seeing all those HTML code that you know will still be here. Like here now, you know that. Can you see that all those HTML code will still be there? Just that the framework is helping you to generate all these things like that easily. So it's just that you can NG all this NG content. If I type it on Google now, you see that it's going to do that. If I type NG content like this, content, that all the content is Angular. What they are attaching, and based on what you see on the code, you already know the framework that is generating that page. Can you see Angular? So anywhere you see NG, that's Angular. Anywhere you see Nox, it's just this Nox framework. And then you see Vue or React. So all of them, they are framework that you can use to develop your application there. And that's going to be all.